park used to be something back then. Keep your head on straight. Quiet.
Welcome to Storyflix. In this video, we will explain Aquaslash. The film is set at a water park, where a killer targets a group of high school graduates who are in a competition as the fastest team to slide down the park's water slides. Who would have thought that the fun time in the swimming pool would turn into the bloodiest murder scene? But who is the culprit behind all these incidents? Let's find out on Aquaslash. Aquaslash begins by showing a man and woman making out in a swimming pool area. Cindy and Brad are the two lifeguards who work at the pool. That night, the two plan to have fun on one of the slides. But suddenly, a mysterious figure appeared and carrying a machete. In the end, both of them had to be killed and died in that swimming pool. The story then shifts to Valley Hills High School, where students will celebrate their graduation by having fun in a swimming pool called Wet Valley Water Park. Alice, the class president, announced this news from inside her car. Suddenly all the students were pleased to welcome this graduation ceremony. They will not only have fun swimming, but they will also stay for 3 days at the water park. The scene changes to a student named Josh, who comes with two of his friends, Chad and Slim. They joined a school band called the Blads. While they were preparing their band instruments, an old man named Carter approached them. This old man said that he was the lifeguard at the swimming pool. He has even worked there for 35 years and is still trusted by the water park owner to manage the place. A girl named Kimberly then approached Josh and his friends. Kimberly used to be Josh's ex-girlfriend in high school. Now, she works at Wet Valley Water Park as a swimming pool supervisor. Kimberly's boyfriend, Tommy, approached them. It can be seen that Tommy doesn't like the closeness of the two of them. Tommy then took Kimberly for lunch. The scene shifts to Michael, Josh's father. At that time, he was on the phone with Josh. Josh asked Michael to come to Wet Valley Water Park to see his band perform that night. Here, we can see if Michael has a blueprint of a building in his car. The fun at Wet Valley Water Park has already begun. The graduates of Valley Hills High School seem to enjoy their event at the water park. They have fun on the famous slides, which is very high and also challenging. All the students seem to be enjoying their time. However, some stubborn students brought liquor into the pool. Unfortunately, they collided, and one of them was injured by hitting a broken drink bottle. The incident forced a pool owner, Paul, to come and deal with the problem there. Due to the acquaintance of the two boys, the pool water was now mixed with blood. Carter had to clean up the broken glass at the bottom of the pool. That afternoon, Tommy and Kimberly meet again with Josh and two of his friends. But Chad and Slim instead asked Tommy to help find cables for their musical instruments. It turned out that their goal was for Josh and Kimberly to be alone without being bothered by Tommy. It turned out that their relationship was getting closer. They even go to a dark place to have fun. Tommy was so annoyed that he couldn't find Kimberly anywhere. That night, Michael is having dinner with a beautiful woman named Priscilla. It turns out that Priscilla is the wife of Paul, the owner of Wet Valley Water Park. Meanwhile, Michael turns out to be a wealthy billionaire who many women like. That night their dinner was intimate. After the fun, Josh and Kimberly returned to the middle of the pool. Josh then started to entertain everyone there with their band performance. Meanwhile, Kimberly looks happy to watch Josh's show. Tommy was getting jealous and getting more and more annoyed. Michael and Priscilla had also arrived at the pool to watch Josh's music performance. But a student named Phil was secretly filming a scene of Josh and Kimberly in the pool bathroom. He then sent the video to all the students' phones. Tommy, who saw the video, became very angry and immediately attacked Josh, who was singing on stage. The two of them got into a fight until Tommy finally left in annoyance. And the party that night got even more chaotic when Priscilla caught Paul, her husband, having an affair with one of the students named Alice. The party fell apart and everyone left the stage area. As the night progressed, Josh, with a bruised face, was approached by his father. It seemed that Michael was so interested in buying Wet Valley Water Park that he asked Josh for his opinion. But their conversation turned out to be overheard by Alice. Alice goes to Paul and questions his decision to sell Wet Valley Water Park to Josh's father. But Paul denied it because the water park was his only source of income. But Alice didn't believe him and left. The night was getting late, and all the students had gone into their rooms to rest. Silently, someone was busy breaking through one of the water slides and placing two sharp irons in the middle of the slide. It was as if he was preparing the terrifying killing plan in the water park. Morning is approaching. Michael was looking at the long slide at Wet Valley Water Park and considering buying the water park. Suddenly, a mysterious figure came and attacked him. One of his legs was shot, and he was dragged into a small warehouse. Unexpectedly, in the cramped warehouse, there were already bodies of Cindy and Brad that looked terrible. They are the two pool lifeguards who died at the beginning of the film. The scene moves to Tommy, who has now been fired for causing a fight the night before. He looks sad because Kimberly has broken up with him. Suddenly Carter came up to him and said that he didn't have to think about Kimberly anymore because she didn't care about him. But it turns out that Tommy still loves Kimberly very much. Noon is approaching. Carter began preparing all the water slides for the high school graduates. He started putting water in the long slide so they could continue their fun day. But no one realized that two sharp irons were installed in one of the water slides, ready to take their lives. At that time, Priscilla, who was having fun with a young man, was caught by Paul. But Priscilla doesn't care about her husband, especially since he's already had an affair with Alice. At that time, Paul was panicking because he couldn't find his two pool lifeguards, Brad and Cindy. Finally, he asked Priscilla to be the pool keeper that day. The afternoon was approaching, and the students were getting ready to continue their fun at the water park. That day, Paul announced that they would be holding a contest with a prize of $500. The participants' task is to form a team of 3 people, and they are asked to slide from one of the water slides there. The winner is determined from the group that slides the fastest. Josh looks very excited to enter the contest. The team was, of course, Chad and Slim. But strangely, they couldn't find Slim anywhere. Priscilla came with a trophy. She said that the contest winner that day would get money and a trophy in her hand. But the tension arises when Tommy arrives, even though he has been fired. But Tommy said he came as a visitor. It was clear he still had a grudge against Josh and wanted to avenge his hurt. However, when Tommy went to the water slide area, he was kicked out by Phil and his friends. Tommy then left. Since Slim didn't come, Josh and Chad finally asked Kimberly to be a member of their team. Tommy, who was annoyed that he was not allowed to enter the contest, noticed one oddity. He saw water flowing from one part of the water slide. And sure enough, that's where the mysterious person put the 2 irons last night. In addition, he also found plastic fragments from holes in the water slide. But the high school students were not aware of the danger before them. They began to climb the stairs excitedly. Meanwhile, Carter is tasked with keeping an eye on the pool, and he is ready to take note of which group will slide the fastest. Tommy, who was sure there was something wrong with the water slide, immediately warned the students there. Unfortunately, no one cares about it. Paul had already fired his gun in the air, signaling that the contest had started. The students immediately slid on the water slide, including Josh's team sliding down the number 1 slide. But Tommy was still trying to stop them from sliding until an irritated Phil pushed him, and he fell into the slide. And sure enough, the catastrophe began. The 3 women who were sliding down the number 3 slide hit 2 crossbars until their bodies were cut into pieces. The blood was immediately mixed with the pool water. The people who were watching screamed hysterically. Moreover, the pieces of the women's bodies began to fall in the swimming pool. The frightened people immediately ran away. Even Carter fell and sprained his leg. Unfortunately, Tommy fell on the slide that had pieces of iron on it. Now his body was caught between the pieces of the previous woman's body. He could only hope that nothing would slide behind him, for he would surely be the next victim. Carter panicked and immediately asked Priscilla to stop the students from sliding. But the walkie-talkie suddenly malfunctioned, and Priscilla couldn't hear what Carter was saying. Priscilla then challenges Paul to join the slide. But on the condition that her husband must win if he wants their marriage to return to normal. Finally, Paul accepted the challenge and took off. Unfortunately, he's on the water slide number 3. Josh, who was already in the pool below, realized the bloody tragedy. He immediately climbed up to the top and asked everyone to stop sliding. Paul, who heard Josh's warning, immediately let go of his grip on the two girls in front of him and restrained himself from falling. Luckily, Josh managed to hold his hand. Meanwhile, two girls who had just slid on the water slide had to collide with Tommy's body. They also died with their bodies cut into pieces. Now the atmosphere is getting tenser with a swimming pool full of blood and human body parts. Carter knew he had to act fast. So he asked Kimberly and Chad to turn off the water pump in the warehouse so that there would be no more victims. Kimberly, who entered the warehouse, was surprised when she saw Michael's body that was already lying with cuts all over his body. The bodies of Brad and Cindy also lay on the floor. Return to the middle of the pool. Due to the heavy flow of water, Paul could not hold his grip any longer and his body was carried away by the water. He then entered the slide. Now, Paul is the next victim of the deadly water slide. Now we are presented with a view of a swimming pool filled with blood and pieces of human bodies. It was the most terrible tragedy that ever happened at Wet Valley Water Park. The film shifts to a few months later. Josh was in a notary's building. A lawyer told him that his father left him a lot of inheritance. However, one transaction has not been completed: the purchase of Wet Valley Water Park, which has a value of $20 million. Besides him, Priscilla still looks sad because of Paul's death. She then received the money from the selling of the water park. But it didn't take long. The tears of sadness on Priscilla's face immediately turned into a smile of happiness. And now we know who did the murder at Wet Valley Water Park. This movie ends.